I was scared. I had a reel under my throat. Oh, this just can't be right. It was such a nightmare. I just wanted to be dead. I wish to hell I was dead. Yes, she was terrified. And she was frightened when she was away up and she lives in Edinburgh. Right. And she was frightened to leave me alone in the house. Where were you born? Edinburgh. So she can vouch for the fact that you never said those words as well. Exactly. Yeah, okay.
If you just want to give a wee introduction as to who you are and what your kind of situation is.
I'm David, this is Leslie, and I'm an amputee. Had my right leg off under half of my left foot, so I'm completely disabled now. Now I can't get up from bed, I can't walk, I'm just chair-bound or bed-bound. The day before my operation to have my leg removed, they closed down our care package and they wouldn't restart it again. Leslie was fighting tooth and nail and we got another company to take over. They were employed by the council. Now they were absolutely hopeless. They had the house a complete rubbish tip. The bath was full of used flannels and sheets and God knows all what, towels, everything just flung in the bath like a dump. The washing machine was packed up full of clothes that you would never have got the door shut. So what did they do? They started another pile of soiled clothes on the kitchen floor. The company was called McSense, and we just kicked up a stink about it. We did. Not only that, but the council care workers, because of the new care companies coming in, they were under threat of losing their jobs.
Say about 40% of them was from the job centre. And if you'd come from the job centre and started that job, if you'd been there for a few weeks, you would then be a mentor for another guy that has just started from the job centre. They had no training in medicine training, so they didn't know what the medicines were that David was getting. They didn't know what the medication was for. They had no hoist training.
So they had no or very little training?
No, well, we're not sure about the older ones. There was a couple of ones that seemed to have been there for a while. We don't know what training they had, but they mentored the new ones for a week or two, and then they were left to it on their own.
For 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Do you know how long these people have been in the country for?
No.
No.
But they were from Nigeria, Syria, and other African countries.
There was one guy I asked, I said, and how long have you been caring? And his answer was, this is my first day. And there was another guy, beforehand. I said, how long have you been doing this job? 2 weeks. Within a month, he was mentoring someone else. He was teaching someone else the job. Within a month.
With David's complex needs, he's not just, get up and get a bed wash and sit in a chair. He needs food at least 3 or 4 times a day, constant, so that he can take his insulin. If he doesn't have food before he takes his insulin, his blood sugars would drop, so he can't take his insulin if he wasn't given food. They didn't feed him. They would put him something out for a breakfast, and that would be him. At lunchtime, they would come in and maybe just send, a coffee, and there was nothing between lunchtime and bedtime, which could be 9:30 at night. So no food.
Or one night it was 10 to 6.
10 to 6, yeah. Between 10 to 6 and 9:30 he would
I said,
died.
Excuse me, I'm a grown-up man. I says, I've never been put to bed at 10 to 6 since I was about 3. I was left for 15 and a half hours on my own. No one to call in.
With the risk of going into a diabetic coma.
Yeah.
Initially, I was complaining to the coordinators to say, look, this isn't right. Can you do something about this? Can you do something about that? Can you get a tea time visit in so that at least he's getting something substantial to eat? Because I'm not always here. I can be here about 2 weeks at a time. I live in Edinburgh, so I'll be up there because I've got other family commitments up there. And in that time that I wasn't here, he was basically abandoned. It scared the heck out of me leaving him on his own, because they wouldn't feed him. There was nothing there for him to eat properly.
And they were rough handling.
And they were very rough.
Can you give me a couple of examples of when you say they were rough?
Well, For instance, to get me washed in the morning, I would have to be rolled to the left and hold on, and they would wash one side of me, roll to the right, whatever. But I was pushed into the rail. At one point, I had the rail under my throat, and they would push me even further into it. Oh, this just can't be right. Now they put me in the hoist. They put me in the hoist hanging sideways, and I'd be stuck in the chair all day, hanging over the right-hand side of the chair because I hadn't been put in the hoist properly. And they would bang me about. They'd bang that foot, which is now having to be looked after every week again by the district nurses. They damaged it, and it was really painful. They didn't care.
So these carers actually caused you not just mental damage, but physical damage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How does that make you feel? How did that make you feel at the time?
Sore.
You were worried. You were scared.
I was scared.
He just did not look forward to them coming in. He would be scared for them coming in because he didn't know what would happen next. They damaged his wardrobe by pushing the hoist into the thing. And yeah, basically, you were scared for
It was rough handling. It was rough handling. If they're doing the same thing with a little old lady somewhere else in the borders, and she's got no voice, God help her.
I mean, the days I was here, I had witnessed it. I was watching them. Never suffered from anxiety in my life, but I was so anxious. I was standing watching them, pushing them and trying to get them out of the bed. And eventually the hoist was tipping because they were trying to pull it. And I had to scream at them to put him back on the bed, because if it tipped any further, he'd have been on the floor. You know, they just literally, the whole thing would have gone over and he'd be down on the floor. So
I've spoken to a couple of other people, and one of the things they mentioned were because they are from a different country, they really struggle with English as it's not their first language. And there's a big struggle with prescriptions. Reading prescriptions. I'm not sure if that's something that
is very true.
You've had issues with.
I've had them in my bedroom speaking Nigerian to each other, and I just couldn't make out a word they were saying to me.
The prescription, they wouldn't. The borders carers, they take the prescription down to the chemist. It's the repeat prescription, and every 4 weeks it gets delivered here from the pharmacy down in Eyemouth. I asked them about the prescription. They didn't do that. That wasn't their job. I said, well, I'll take it down, I'll hand it in, it'll be delivered next week, i.e. the following Monday. It sat for 3 days in the kitchen not being checked out, and then they said to David, you don't have any apixaban, you don't have any this. And David phoned me up and I says, it's in the box in the kitchen, you've got to check it in. Oh, we don't do that.
Now, I've had many strokes in the past. I have to keep my blood thin. I've suffered, in fact I died. My heart's bad. I have to be on blood thinners to keep myself alive. So 3 days I was told there is no apixaban, and they don't collect prescriptions. Obviously I can't go to the pharmacy in Eyemouth with one leg. And so I just had to do without the medication until Leslie got onto them and says, for Christ's sake, there's a box through there with all my medications in it. Try looking inside it.
Don't look at that.
It was totally like...
It was just basically because they've not had any medicines training. The borders carers, they go for medicines training at college for, I don't know how long, months anyway, to make sure that they know exactly what the pill is, what it does, what the grammage is, why...
when it's to be given.
Yeah, when it's to be given. And they constantly have to go and get updated training because pills change their names. So they do that training, they do hoist training, they do care training. That lot never had any training for any of that. They'll put you on...
They kept giving me this Senna.
Senna.
And when I was asking them, I said, are you feeding me Senna? Because I was constant diarrhea. And they kept saying no.
So is Senna a laxative?
Very laxative.
And when you asked them, they said no.
They said no.
Sorry,
I mean, in some, you could look at that as you're being drugged, kinda. I mean,
well,
if you look at it from that point of view, you're asking them and they're saying no. That's.
I ended up having to hide the box and tell them there wasn't any.
So when they were giving you these laxatives, tell me what happened.
I would shit my pants and shit the bed constantly. No control whatsoever. It was a bloody mess. It was a nightmare.
But what they would do was like they would take the clothes off him, take the sheets off the bed, put them in the washing machine.
Or leave
Take
them
the clothes, put them in the washing machine.
or in the bath.
I came down on the Thursday night, there was a pile of dirty, soiled linen on the floor, and the washing machine was that full, it couldn't get anything else in it. And I'm pulling it out, and as I'm literally pulling it out, it is soiled sheets and soiled underwear. At that left there, if you didn't have anybody coming in, and you didn't have anybody visiting you, and that was left, that's a disease harbour. It's
Health hazard.
At that point, I remember thinking to myself, lying in the bed, thinking to myself,
It took me 4 days to get rid of that washing.
I wish to hell I was dead.
Yeah.
It was such a nightmare. I just wanted to be dead.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
72.
So you're 72, and you've been through your life. You've worked hard, I imagine, and you've been put through this, let's face it, dehumanizing experience. Is that, you've paid into the tax system. This is what you get back.
It's not acceptable, is it?
It was supposedly, and I'm not bad-mouthing the council because honestly what they provide is absolutely brilliant, but it was some person's idea of saving the council money by bringing in private companies, and what they were doing was saving £1 an hour per person that they were employing, but bringing them in from Edinburgh and Dalkeith and Musselburgh to travel down here, but not one at a time, tandem. So if one was late, they were all late and they wouldn't turn up, or vice versa. But yet they were still paying the Scottish Borders Council carers the time that they were not working. So the hours that David had, they were still getting paid for that, although they weren't coming here. So where is that saving money?
So last time I was here, you had visitors.
Yes, the police.
From the police. Tell us a wee bit about why they were here.
Apparently I was very abusive.
You were abusive.
I was very abusive to them. I was shouting at them.
Very aggressive.
I was very aggressive. And I told them to fuck off.
Did you?
No. And lied and constantly lied.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really.
Can you tell me a wee bit about how you got in touch with James Anderson?
Through one of our old carers from the Borders Council. Told us about James Anderson. And I'd actually never heard his name before. And she said, try contacting James Anderson. And we did, and everything spread from there. James would give us other contacts. And the guy's he's moved heaven and earth for us.
James has been
ran
an absolute boon. He's been
he ran with it.
Yeah.
In inner circles,
BBC
we don't
onto
know
it. He got everybody onto it. Every time he came in, popped in, somebody else would be wanting to do a feature on it. And it's like, if we can get it out there and give somebody else the opening to put their piece forward, honestly.
What's your message to other people who could find themselves in a similar situation?
Find the James Anderson.
Find your local councillor. If he's like James, fine, it'll work. But just don't sit back and put up with it, because nobody has to put up with that. You're not born to put up with that nonsense. Fight for it, because what we need is proper care. The social care side is on its knees, and so is the NHS at the moment. And the Scottish Government keeps saying, I got a letter from them the other week, they're saying that they're ploughing so many billions of pounds into the social sector, into each council, and it's up to the council how they spend the money. Well, obviously they're not putting enough in if the council haven't got enough money to spread across everything that
you think the root of the issue is money, though? Because it's very, very easy to just throw money at something and cross your fingers and hope.
No, the whole system needs to be restructured, and restructured properly.